قد أفلح المؤمنون.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Respected Muslim brothers and sisters, those of you tuning in, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am back with Sayyid Nasr to do another part regarding the biography of Abu Bakr. Nasr, how are you doing today?
It's always a pleasure to be with you, brother Saif. Can't wait to get it on.
You know, the big back nephews and nieces of Muawiyah have been running their mouths, and so they thought we were done with Abu Bakr, but we're not. We still got way more to go. We already, we handled business last time. We went over the hadith regarding Fadak, but now we're going to continue where we left off with his biography and cover more of his mathalib today, inshallah. So, would you like to start us off?
Of course, inshallah ta'ala. So we left off at the dispute between Sayyidah Zahra salawatullahi alayha with Abu Fasil ibn Abi Quhafa, and we'll pick back up at what happened at the end of that conflict that was between them, and how did it actually play out? What did it come to? And we'll start with a narration from al-Baladhiri from Musa ibn Uqba, the master of the seerah, according to Malik awal al-Hadith, where he narrates that Fatima salamullahi alayha entered upon Abu Bakr when he was paid allegiance, excuse me. She said, Ayman and Rabah bear witness for me that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam gave me fadak. Abu Bakr said, by Allah, there is no one more dear to me than your father. I wish the day of judgment had happened in the day that he passed away. I prefer Aisha to encounter poverty rather than your poverty. Do you think I give every red and black their rights and I oppress you while you are the daughter of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? This wealth is for the Muslims. Your father used to appoint people over it and spent it for charity. I will do with it what your father did. Az-Zahra salamullahi alayha said, by Allah, I will not speak with you. Abu Bakr replied, by Allah, I will not leave speaking with you. She said, by Allah, I will pray to Allah against you. And he said, but I will pray to Allah for you. So this really highlights how Az-Zahra salamullahi alayha, how serious she took this matter, to the point where she said that she will then start making dua against Abu Bakr ibn Abi Quhafa.
And we do the same thing. That's the thing, is that we today, the Shia of the Ahlul Bayt, we are essentially attacked for doing what the Sayyidah Zahra did with this man, is that we essentially make dua against this man, and that's what bara'a is, that's what la'n is, and we are essentially attacked for it. And so this report highlights that, is that Zahra died angry with Abu Bakr. She was infuriated with him, that she was making dua against him, and we know that like doing la'n of a mu'min is haram in the fiqh of the Ahlul Bayt. So this report is very, very clear, and
as well.
Exactly, and so like abandoning, like you cannot
ignore a believer when they
ignore a believer for more than 3 days, and I believe this is even in the books of the Mukhalifeen. And so this is absolutely, this is one of the very, very clear proof. And so the Mukhalifeen, what they would say is their cope for this. They would say, oh well, this is mursal. Musa ibn Uqba did not, he was not contemporary with these events. And so this, our response to this is very, very simple. And we have gone over this many, many times, but we want our audience to understand this rule very, very simply. Whenever the Mukhalifeen encounter a historical report that they do not like, they always use the same cope. Like, the isnad, the chain is not good. Yes. The chain is not good. It's the same cope every time. And then when we refute the cope, they just ignore the refutation. And so we're going to present to you just really, really quickly how we would respond to this cope. This is Kitab As-Saram al-Maslul ala Shatim al-Rasul by the so-called Shaykh al-Islam, and I vote that we from now on we call him Shaykh al-Ash'ari, because according to Ibn Hajar in Ad-Durar al-Kamina, he said that he was an Ash'ari when he was imprisoned in Egypt. Either that or he was doing taqiyya, Allahu a'lam, which the great hero of the Salafis was doing. So he says on page 143, he says, وَمِثْلُ هَذَا مِمَّا يُشْتَهَرْ عِنْدَ هَؤُلَاءِ مثل الزهري وابن عقبة, same historian that we're quoting, وابن إسحاق والواقدي والأموي وغيرهم أكثر ما فيه أنه مرسل. So he says most of these reports from Zuhri or Waqidi or Ibn Uqba or Ibn Ishaq or al-Umawi, and I forget who the Umawi historian is that he's referring to. He highlights his name even farther in Majma' al-Fatawa. But he says that most of it is mursal, just like this report in Baladri's book. والمرسل إذا روي من جهات مختلفة لا سيما ممن له عناية بهذا الأمر ويتبع له كان كالمسند بل بعض ما يشتهر عند أهل المغازي ويستفيض أقوى مما يروي بالإسناد الواحد. So what is he saying here? He is saying that these mursal reports from the likes of Waqidi, from the likes of Ibn Ishaq, from the likes of Musa bin Uqba, from the likes of al-Umawi, what's the Zuhri, right? What's the issue with them? Most of them are mursal. Doesn't matter. On the contrary, Ibn Taymiyyah says what is accepted by these people is more powerful than a single isnad. What a reliable historian reports, if it's mursal, it's considered more acceptable than a single isnad, because historians only transmit what is reliable. And so now we have to ask the question, is Ibn Uqba considered a reliable historian for them?
As we mentioned, yes, he is.
Musa bin
Uqba like to throw Ibn Ishaq out the is thrown out the window for Musa bin Uqba.
Musa bin Uqba, you check his tarjama, Malik had nothing but good things to say about him. He's like, if you want the maghazi of the Prophet, you want history, you go back to Musa bin Uqba. So now we ask the mukhalifin the question. Here's your Imam of the Sirah, the Imam of Maghazi, Musa bin Uqba. He says that Sayyid al-Zahra, salamullahi alayha, she said to Abu Bakr, I will continue to make dua against you, and I will never speak to you again. Solve this for us. Sayyiduna Abu Bakr and Sayyidatuna Fatima, they died, Fatima died without speaking to him, and she died in a state of anger against him, and she died while making dua against him, while praying against him. Correct?
That leads us to ask, is Musa bin Uqba, he is saying this with reassurance. He believes that this happened. He is claiming something on az-Zahra, salamullahi alayha, on Abu Bakr ibn Abi Quhafa. So if he is wrong, he is either A, lying, or B, he is ignorant, and that would pose problems on, if you take both any one of the two opinions, because this is a person who is highly relied upon for the life of Rasulullah. They recently printed his book, and the biggest talk about the Sirah books, I need the Sirah of Maghazi Sayyiduna Muhammad by al-Imam al-Qudwa Musa bin Uqba. Let's see if he's still al-Imam al-Qudwa after
and
this.
That's the thing, is that on their manabir on Friday, when they narrate historical reports for you, do they narrate them with a sahih isnad? Are the things they're narrating about the conquest movement, do these come from a sahih isnad?
Ya Sariya, al-Jabal.
It's only when you're debating the Shia that you have to change tactics. Oh, I only accept Sahih. I only accept Sahih. Just throw your own rules out the window. So now we propose a challenge to the so-called Ahl Sunnah. We pose a simple challenge to the Mukhalifin. Either bring us a completely Sahih history book, or write a completely Sahih history book. نحن قوم أكرمنا الله بالإسناد, right? Allah blessed you with the isnad. Show us, inshallah. Give us a Sahih Isnad history book. May Allah bless you. Your best historian, Ibn Kathir, couldn't do it. Let's see how well you do. Right? In any case, moving on to the next point. This next hadith comes from Sahih al-Bukhari. Al-Bukhari reported, and this is in Sahih al-Bukhari, hadith 4240 to 4241. He says the following. He says, Fatima, the daughter of Rasulullah, sent someone to Abu Bakr when he was Khalifa, asking for her inheritance from what Allah had left of the property bestowed on him by Allah from the fate in Medina and Fadak, and what remained of the khums of the Khaybar booty. On that, Abu Bakr said, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, our property is not inherited. Whatever we leave is sadaqah, but the family of the Prophet can eat of this property. By Allah, I will not make any change in the state of the sadaqah of Allah's Messenger, and I will leave it as it was during the lifetime of Rasulullah, and will dispose of it as Allah's Messenger used to do. So Abu Bakr refused to give anything of that to Fatima, and we already covered this from numerous other sources. So she became angry with Abu Bakr and kept away from him and did not talk to him until she died. She remained alive for 6 months after the death of the Prophet, and when she died, her husband Ali salamullahi alayhi buried her at night without informing Abu Bakr, and he said the funeral prayer by himself. Fatima died angry with Abu Bakr. And I know there's that dumb cope that they use, like, oh, this is from Balaghat az-Zuhri, and we simply say, prove it. Prove that this is Balaghat az-Zuhri. Ibn Hajar and Fath al-Bari said that this is connected, and there are many other scholars who narrated this report and affirmed that it is connected, such as al-Mirwazi and his Musnad of Abu Bakr. And we covered this already in our... Oh, go ahead.
I believe it is maybe in al-Humaydi or in Abu Dawud Tayalisi, inshallah, I'll get it for you all after the event, where it's the same narration with the same isnad, but when it comes to the part where it says that az-Zahra salamullahi alayha died angry with Abu Bakr and Umar, and she did not talk to them until she died, and they were not allowed to pray upon her at her funeral prayer, right before it says qalat, meaning Aisha said.
He's continuing to narrate from Aisha.
Ahsantum, destroying the possibility that it was ever Balaghat az-Zuhri. And even that Balaghat az-Zuhri cope is dumb because this is Bukhari and Muslim, whom are the most authentic books after the Book of Allah.
Exactly. And you see this game that they play, essentially, where what they want to do is they want to argue that the Sahih al-Bukhari is Sahih, except when we don't feel like it. But just for brevity's sake, let us just show really quickly easy way to refute this. So this is Kitab Musnad Abi Bakr by al-Marwazi. In Musnad Abi Bakr, look what he says. قالت فهجرته فاطمة فلم تكلمه في ذلك حتى ماتت فدفنها علي سلام الله عليه ليلا ولم يؤذن بها أبا بكر. قالت فكان لعلي إلى آخر الحديث. قالت, that قالت, who is it referring to? It's referring to Aisha. She is the one narrating this. This is not az-Zuhri's addition, correct? Furthermore, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani in Fath al-Bari, he says the following. He says, وَأَشَارَ الْبَيْهَقِي. This is Kitab Fath al-Bari, volume 9, page 564. He says, وَأَشَارَ الْبَيْهَقِي. And al-Bayhaqi, as we know, is a master of copes. The master of copes himself, the guy who gave us the other cope of ash-Sha'bi, correct? وأشار البيهقي إلى أن في قوله وعاشت إلى آخره إدراجا. So idraj is explanation. So he's saying that the part where the first part of the report is from Aisha, but then وعاشت إلى آخره up until the rest, he's saying that's az-Zuhri's explanation. It's not part of the hadith. وذلك أنه وقع عند مسلم من طريق أخرى عن الزهري فذكر الحديث وقال في آخره قلت للزهري كم عاشت فاطمة بعده؟ قال 6 أشهر وعزى هذه الرواية لمسلم. Now look what Ibn Hajar says here. ولم يقع عند مسلم هكذا بل فيه كما عند البخاري موصولا والله أعلم.
So it's all connected.
It's connected. Ibn Hajar is saying it's connected. And if you wish to say that Ibn Hajar was wrong, we say to you, your own ulama have famously said لا هجرة بعد الفتح. لا هجرة بعد الفتح. You know what this means, Brother Nasser? لا هجرة بعد الفتح.
You're not ignoring any other believer. لا هجران.
No. لا هجرة بعد الفتح it's a hadith that the Prophet said لا هجرة بعد الفتح. After Fatah Makkah, you cannot become a muhajir. If you come to Medina, you are not counted as a muhajir.
Yeah.
So the muhalifin, what they have done is they have a quote regarding Fath al-Bari by Ibn Hajar. لا هجرة بعد الفتح means there will never be a better sharh of Bukhari than Fath al-Bari by Ibn Hajar. Correct? So there you go. Correct? So this foolish cope that they've been using, that they've been peddling on the internet is absurd. Now, another report from at-Tirmidhi, there is a report from at-Tirmidhi's book which does not have az-Zuhri in the isnad. So it also renders this pathetic excuse useless. It makes it null and void. In Jami' at-Tirmidhi, hadith 1609, look what he says here. Narrated Abu Huraira. Fatima came to Abu Bakr to ask them for her inheritance from the Messenger of Allah. They said, we heard Rasulullah say, I am not inherited from. So she said, by Allah, I will never talk to you again. So she died having not talked to them. Now look at the idraj that Ali ibn Isa adds. Ali ibn Isa comments, the meaning of not speaking to you two is never again regarding the inheritance because you two are truthful.
ما أقبحهم من كاذبين.
ما أقبحهم من كاذبين. ما أقبحهم من جاهلين. What is this? So the hadith of Bukhari, you want to throw out this report because you claim it's Idraj az-Zuhri. But subhanAllah, with this hadith from Tirmidhi, we have to add Idraj Ali ibn Isa. Ali ibn Isa's explanation, it has to be added. We have to take this explanation. What is this nonsense?
or the idraj of Ibrahim al-Nakha'i regarding the Islam of Ali that we covered earlier. We take those marasil and idraj. We only take it when we feel like it.
So that is what we covered this in more detail in the istishhad of Sayyida az-Zahra salamullahi alayha. Do you want to take us to the next point, Brother Nasser?
Of course. So what we need to talk about next is how Abu Bakr ibn Abi Quhafa would constantly speak of Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayh in an ill manner, in a very bad way, as is narrated by Ibn Abi Hadid al-Mu'tazili in his Sharh Nahj al-Balagha, volume 8, page 322 to 323. It says, after he reports with the chain of al-Jawhari, when Abu Bakr heard her, i.e. the sermon of Sayyida az-Zahra salawatullahi alayha that is narrated in that book and in many other sources, he was affected by her words, so he got on the pulpit immediately and said, "People, what is wrong with you? What were these trusts during the lifetime of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Whoever heard it, let him stand and bear witness. Raise your ears to everything based on truth and falsehood."
No, you raise your ears. Sorry, you raise your ears. Yeah.
You raise your ears to everything based on truth and falsehood. He, meaning now Abu Bakr is talking about Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi wa hasha. He is like a fox, hasha ki Amir al-Mu'mineen, whose witness is his tail. And now he is talking about az-Zahra. He is insulting az-Zahra, wa hasha Fatima az-Zahra. He wishes to reawaken fitna and seeks the support of women, the majority of whom are fornicators. يعني هذا الكلام يليق بمثل أمير المؤمنين وفاطمة الزهراء. نعوذ بالله. Abu Bakr then said to the Ansar, "I have heard and refuted and analyzed the words of the foolish among you." Ibn Abi Hadid, as an addition to the narration, he says, "I asked Abu Yahya Ja'far ibn Abi Zayd al-Basri about these words, asking who did he mean here? Who is he talking about when he says he is like a fox whose witness is his tail?" He replied, "It is stated," meaning you can understand it in the hadith. "I said," meaning Ibn Abi Hadid, "if it was stated, I would not have been asking you." So Abu Yahya Ja'far ibn Abi Zayd, he smiled and said, Abu Bakr was referring to Ali through these words.
And if you read the Arabic, it says فقرأت هذا الكلام على النقيب أبي يحيى جعفر بن يحيى بن أبي زيد البصري وقلت له بمن يعرض قال بل يصرح قلت لو صرح لم أسألك. He says if it was obvious, if it was صراحة, I wouldn't be asking you. فضحك وقال بعلي بن أبي طالب قلت هذا الكلام كله لعلي يقوله قال نعم إنه الملك يا بني.
إنه الملك يا حسن.
إنه الملك. Correct. So
subhanallah,
this is the way he used to describe Amir al-Mu'mineen sallallahu alayhi. He is a fox whose witness is his tail. He's essentially saying that he is a kadhab who has, he has no legitimate testimony to back up his claims.
He's like live fox, he's saying. And ma'al-asaf al-shadid, it's like, and you'll see that this thing with Ashab al-Saqifa and those that went out against Amir al-Mu'mineen, it's all about this mulk. It's all about this dunya. From Zubair and Uthman and Muawiyah, right? مع الخوف شدة المطامع. Subhanallah, طمعهم في الدنيا.
Furthermore, let's take a look at what Ali himself had to say about Abu Bakr. Sahih Muslim, Hadith 1757c. Many of you are familiar with this polemic, but there's a little something that we want to add to it. Just a little Muminoon masala, we would say.
A little salt and pepper.
Yeah, well, by the way, by add to the report, I don't mean we're going to make up something. We're going to get you some other sources. So take it easy, okay? So Muslim al-Hajjaj reports with his isnad. This is a very long report. You can read the full thing yourself on Sunnah.com. Sahih Muslim 1757c. He reports that Umar ibn al-Khattab said, when Rasulullah passed away, Abu Bakr said, I am the successor of the Messenger of Allah. SubhanAllah, the word wali here means successor. But then when we talk about wilayah, al-Ghadir, wali can mean anything, right? Both of you both of you here, it is referring to none other than Ali and Al-Abbas. Salamullah alayhim. Salamullah ala Amir al-Mu'mineen. So he's referring to Ali and Al-Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, the uncle of the Prophet and the uncle of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, both of you came to demand your shares from the property. So then he said to Al-Abbas, you demanded your share from the property of your nephew. And then he referred to Ali by saying, and he demanded a share on behalf of his wife from the property of her father. And we'll go over this in more detail. There's a really interesting observation regarding the wording here that Abdul Razak al-San'ani pointed out. We'll go over this in the biography of Umar ibn al-Khattab. But he says, like, both of you came to demand this property. And Abu Bakr said, the Prophet had said, we do not have any heirs. What we leave behind is in charity. So both of you thought him to be a liar, sinful, treacherous, and dishonest. And Allah knows that he was true, virtuous, well-guided, and a follower of truth. When Abu Bakr passed away, and I became the wali of Rasulullah and Abu Bakr, you thought me to be a liar, sinful, treacherous, and dishonest. طيب. هذا الحديث صحيح Muslim. It's also in Bukhari, but Bukhari censored it. He replaced the words, sinful, treacherous, dishonest liars with كذا وكذا. Correct? كذا وكذا. So the Mukhalifeen, how do they cope for this report? Their cope for this is very simple. They say, wait a minute. Omar is saying you thought him to be such and such. Omar was assuming that was their opinion. That is not their actual opinion. Allah. ما هذا الدفاع العمري
ما شاء الله.
ما شاء الله. Correct. شوف
العقل.
تكبير. اللهم صل على الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد. In any case, and فعلا this is takbir. It's like, subhanAllah, you've been killing the Shia for hundreds of years for holding the same opinion of Abu Bakr and Umar that Amir al-Muminoon salamullah alayhi held of them. But here's the interesting thing. If we look at the isnad of Sahih Muslim, correct? If we look at the isnad of Muslim, look what he says. وحدثني عبد الله بن محمد بن أسماء الضبعي حدثني جويرية عن مالك عن الزهري أن مالك ابن أوسن حدثه قال إلى آخره. طيب, this is the isnad of who? This is the isnad of Muslim. However, there is an older source that is also sahih. In Musannaf Abdul Razak al-San'ani, he says the following, and this is volume 6, page 109 to 111, hadith 10,639. Correct? What does he say here? There's a small but critical difference in the wording. What does he say? He says, فلما قبض رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم قال أبو بكر أنا ولي رسول الله بعده أعمل فيه بما كان يعمل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم فيها ثم أقبل على علي والعباس فقال وأنتما تزعمان أنه فيها ظالم فاجر والله يعلم أنه فيها صادق بار تابع للحق ثم وليتها بعد أبي بكر سنتين من إمارتي فعملت فيها بما عمل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وأبو بكر وأنتما تزعمان أني فيها ظالم فاجر. Here, what is the difference in the wording? He's not saying you thought. And by the way, this makes perfect sense. Why is Umar saying you thought? It's because they expressed their thoughts. SubhanAllah, it's just simple semantics game that these people like to play. Why is he saying you thought? What is he basing that off of? It's because he heard them say it. Because here in Musannaf Abdul Razak, what is the action word that he's using? What's the verb?
Taz'uman, that they are claiming.
Taz'uman, that you are claiming this. That I heard you say this. So either you admit that Umar is a kadhab, or that Ali and al-Abbas are munafiqeen. They're your choices.
يسبون الصحابة.
يسبون الصحابة. يا ذاكر الأصحاب كن متأدبا. Why is it that you people insult the Sahaba? You insult Umar by claiming that he's making up things about Ali and Abbas. No! Ali and Abbas believed that Abu Bakr and Umar were liars, and they were sinful, treacherous, and dishonest people. خلاص. طيب? Why are you whining?
رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وأنتما حينئذ وأقبل على علي والعباس تزعمان أن أبا بكر كذا وكذا والله يعلم أنه فيها صادق بار راشد تابع للحق ثم توفى الله أبا بكر فقلت أنا ولي رسول الله وأبي بكر, and then he snips out the part where he says وأنتما تزعمان أني فيها كاذب آثم أو ظالم فاجر. سبحان الله, يعني هذا هو دينهم.
And I wish to highlight something very interesting. This is a little side note. It's a very interesting side note. There is Mukhalifin, they have a scholar by the name of ibn Qutayba. Ibn Qutayba al-Daynawari, who's a very, very important scholar for them. He's mutakallim ahl sunnah. Allahu Akbar, mutakallim ahl sunnah. Correct? He used to write refutations of the Mu'tazila to defend Ahlul Hadith, to defend the Salaf and the Hadith. Correct? So one of the ahadith that he has to defend is this one. Because people would say, they would argue, they say, how can you accept this hadith? This hadith portrays Ali al-Abbas and Abu Bakr and Umar in a very negative manner. Like according to this hadith, Ali and Abbas had an issue with one another. Correct? Al-Abbas comes in and he says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, judge between me. And then he describes Ali in a very negative manner. How does Ibn Qutayba solve this problem? Correct? Let me show you how Ibn Qutayba, mutakallim ahl sunnah, solve this problem. In Kitab Ta'wil Mukhtalif al-Hadith, look what he says. He says, and he's describing a debate of Hisham ibn al-Hakam. قال له رجل يا أبا محمد. أبا Muhammad here, the kunya of Hisham ibn al-Hakam. هل تعلم أن عليا خاصم العباس في فدك إلى أبي بكر؟ قال نعم. قال فأيهما كان الظالم؟ So look what Hisham al-Hakam, he's been put, keep in mind, he's in the court of Ben al-Abbas. If you accuse al-Abbas of being a zalim here, what's going to happen? You accuse of Ali of being a zalim, well, he can't do that, he's a Shi'i. So what does he do? قال لم يكن فيهما ظالم. قال سبحان الله وكيف يكون هذا؟ قال هما كالملكين المختصمين إلى داود عليه السلام لم يكن فيها ظالم إنما أراد أن يعرفاه خطأ وظلم وكذلك أراد هذان أن يعرفا أبا بكر خطأه وظلمه. In English, for those of you who may not understand Arabic, he's saying, they asked him, he's like, who is the oppressor among them? So there is no oppressor among them. They said, how can that be? He said, these were like the two litigators who came to Nabi Dawood alayhi salam, the two angels who litigated to Dawood. This is found in Al-Quran, Surah 38, ayahs 21 to 24. Neither of them was an oppressor, but they wanted to make Dawood realize his mistake and oppression. Likewise, these two wanted to make Abu Bakr know his mistake and his oppression. And this report is transmitted in ad-Daynawari in another one of his books. It can also be found in Kitab Ayun al-Akhbar by Daynawari, as well as Al-Iqd al-Farid by Ibn Abi Quhafa al-Andalusi. Because Ibn Abi Quhafa had access to Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, he had access to Kitab Ayun al-Akhbar.
Nah.
In any case, these subhanallah, mutakallim ahl sunnah has to rely on a Shia theologian to explain this problem for him. We, alhamdulillah, we have our books. We're good. Our scholars took care of business. We already know the solution to this issue. The fact that the mutakallim of Ahl Sunnah has to rely on Hisham ibn al-Hakam for this is amazing. And this goes back to these jahala in the park. You know the jahala in the park that I'm referring to? The people, Muawiyah is good. Also, the Muawiyah and the peace treaty with Imam Hassan. These jahala in the park, we asked them, you keep mocking Hisham ibn al-Hakam, the student of Imam al-Sadiq. Why is Hisham ibn al-Hakam, why is he in this situation where even your scholars have to rely on him when it comes to kalam, when it comes to ta'weel of these ahadith? Correct?
SubhanAllah.
But now we move on to the next issue, the next point. Do you want to go over this one, Nasser?
Of course. This one is one of my favorites here.
Classic.
And that covers the opinion of Maulana al-Imam Abu Muhammad al-Hasan al-Zaki al-Mujtaba salawatullahi alayh. What was his opinion regarding Abu Bakr ibn Abi Quhafa? As we know, he is Imam Ma'soom min qibalillah, imaman qama aw qa'ada. What is his opinion? He has complete knowledge that Allah has given him even in his childhood, as is narrated by Ibn Sa'd and al-Baladhiri and Ibn al-I'rab al-Basri and Abu Nu'aym al-Asfahani. They all report that Al-Imam al-Hasan ibn Ali salamullahi alayhi came to Abu Bakr when he was upon the minbar of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and he said to Abu Bakr, come down from my father's seat.
And for brevity's sake, we already quoted these all of those reports that you listed in our video on Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba salamullahi alayhi in his biography. But for brevity's sake, we'll quote, this is Tabaqat ibn Sa'd, volume 6, page 374 in the Arabic. فقال انزل عن منبر أبي.
Get down from his minbar.
Get off my father's minbar. فقال علي إن هذا لشيء عن غير ملأ منا. So Imam Ali is telling Abu Bakr, I did not tell him to say that. So, question. So, why is it that our opponents, the followers of Abu Fasil, they get so bent out of shape when we tell them we don't consider Abu Bakr to be the first Khalifa?
Subhanallah, why are they going to Al-Hasan and saying to him, Ya dhakir al-ashab kun muta'addiban?
Yeah. Hassan ibn Ali. This is Abu Bakr. He's the first Khalifa. Nope. Get off my father's pulpit. And subhanallah, it wasn't just Al-Hasan who did this. Al-Hussein, salamullah alayh, he did this as well with their second one. Correct? He did this with their Faruq, didn't he? And we'll go over this inshallah in the series on Umar. But we see that Imam Ali, how did Imam Ali view Abu Bakr and Umar? Sinful, treacherous, dishonest liars. Al-Hasan salamullah alayh, in their books, how does he view Abu Bakr? Get off my father's mimbar. Someone may say, well, wait a minute, he meant Rasulullah's mimbar, not Ali's mimbar. Same difference. If it's Rasulullah's mimbar and he's telling Abu Bakr that he shouldn't be on it, who does Al-Hasan believe should be on it instead?
Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah.
Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayh. Correct? وهاي من فضائل الإمام الحسن سلام الله عليه, is that even in his youth he was a follower of his father Amir al-Mu'mineen salam Allah alayhi. Correct? And this is why this is the ta'wil of the hadith of Rasulullah, that my two sons are imams whether they are sitting or standing. Correct? Even though the time for their imamah had not come up yet, they were the silent imams in that time. So even then they are clarifying that our aqidah is the correct one. Now, let's go over some of the reports regarding the brutality of Abu Bakr and his hypocrisy when it came to dealing with his enemies. In Kitab al-Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba, in volume 19, page 8, hadith number 35,980, as well as Tabaqat ibn Sa'd, in volume 7, page 278. In Tabaqat ibn Sa'd, he narrates with his chain عن عروة ابن الزبير عن أبيه عن هشام بن عروة عن أبيه عروة بن الزبير كانت في بني سليم ردة فبعث أبو بكر خالد بن الوليد فجمع منهم رجالا في حظائر ثم أحرقهم بالنار فجاء عمر إلى أبي بكر فقال أنزع رجلا عذب بعذاب الله فقال أبو بكر لا والله لا أشيم سيفا سله الله على الكفار حتى يكون هو الذي يشيمه ثم أمره فمضى لوجه من وجهه ذلك إلى مسيلمة. So he's saying here, the English translation is that there was apostasy among the tribes of Bani Sulaym. So Abu Bakr, who did he send? He sent Khalid ibn al-Walid to gather some of them in enclosures, and then he burned them with fire. Correct? Abu Bakr, what did he do? Or Khalid ibn al-Walid, his henchman, what did he do here? He burned them with fire. So Umar, what was his response to this?
You need to punish someone who is, using the punishment that Allah uses.
You can't let him get away with this. He's Umar, Ya Abu Bakr, Khalid is out of control. He needs to be stopped. Nope, he's Sayfullah al-Maslul. He's the sword of Allah.
I cannot unsheathe a sword that has been drawn by Allah.
Yes, the burnings must continue, Umar. Let him burn. Let him burn, Ya Umar. Correct? And subhanAllah, in the books of the Mukhalifeen, they do ta'an on Amir al-Mu'mineen for burning the ghulat. Correct? They say, Ali should not have done this. Say, no, Ali, salamullah alayhi, knows the fiqh better than you. Because if you claim that Abu Bakr was correct in this case, well then Umar was wrong. Correct? Umar is the one who was wrong. But if you claim that Umar was correct in this case, then Abu Bakr is wrong. So which one is it going to be? Correct? Which one is it going to be? In any case, in this report, someone might claim it's mursal because of Urwa. But the marasil of Urwa, as we've gone over previously, are accepted by the Mukhalifeen. The marasil of Urwa are accepted. They're considered acceptable. And when we look at the tahqiq of the book, and this is done by Shu'aib al-Amna'ud, in Kitab, you see here, Jami' al-Ulum wal-Hikam, by, what's his name? Ibn Shihab al-Baghdadi thumma al-Dimashqi. الشهير بابن رجب. Ibn Rajab is a major scholar from the Mukhalifin. Yes. Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, أحسنت. He says, وَقَدْ روى عن طائفة من السلف جواز التمثيل فيه بالتحريق بالنار وغير ذلك كما فعله خالد بن الوليد And in the footnote, he narrates the exact same report we quoted from Tabaqat ibn Sa'd, and he says, وَهَذَا سَنَدْ رِجَالُهُ ثِقَاتْ رِجَالُ الشَّيْخَيْنِ إِلَّا أَنَّ عُرْوَ لَمْ يَدْرِكْ أَبَا بَكْرٍ. Urwa did not meet Abu Bakr. No problem. Urwa is apparently lying on his grandfather. If the Mukhalifin wish to say that Urwa is a liar, then alhamdulillah, we can save Rasulullah from some of the accusations that Urwa transmitted from his aunt Aisha. No problem. We'll throw Urwa under the bus. If you agree to throw Urwa under the bus, no problem. Correct? But then we must ask, why is Bukhari also narrating his marasil as well? طيب? So this is how Abu Bakr treated the tribe of Bani Sulaym. Let's see if Abu Bakr kept this policy, if his policy with the Murtaddeen was equal. Nasser, would you like to present the next report?
Before we do get to that, even Abu Bakr, he mentions on his deathbed the 3 things that he wished he hadn't done. One of them that he wished that he didn't uncover and raid the house of az-Zahra salawatullahi alayha. The next one is that he says, I wish I did not burn al-Fuja as-Sulami.
Ahsant. And we'll get to that report later, inshallah. We'll get to that towards the end. Yeah, we'll go over that report in more detail.
Ahsant. Al-Tabarani reports with his isnad to Qais ibn Abi Hazim that when al-Ash'ath ibn Qais la'natullahi alayh was brought as a prisoner to Abu Bakr released his bonds and married him to his sister. Subhanallah.
يعني هذا المرتد قاتل المرتدين Abu Bakr. Nasser, don't you know that Abu Bakr fought the Murtaddeen? Say no, Habibi. He married one of his sisters to them. MashaAllah. He really went all out in the war against the Murtaddeen. MashaAllah. And by the way, since we take the Sunni standard is that these marriages prove that they loved one another, right? So Abu Bakr loved Allah. Look at the love and the mawadda between Abu Bakr and the Murtaddeen, right? Because marriage obviously proves that these people loved each other. It couldn't just be a political marriage, right? So yeah, go ahead. I do apologize.
So Al-Ash'ath drew his sword and went to the camel market, where he began to hamstring every camel he saw. The people cried out, Al-Ash'ath has apostated. When he finished, he threw down his sword and said, by Allah, I have not apostated, but this man married me to his sister, and if we were in our own land, we would have had a wedding feast. O people of Medina, slaughter and eat, and O camel owners, come and take their price. I mean,
as we said, this is Al-Mu'jam al-Kabir by Tabarani, Volume 1, page 182, Hadith 648. And the Al-Haythami certified this tradition in Majma' al-Zawaid, Volume 9, page 512, Hadith 16,174. Correct? What happens here is that Abu Bakr, when they brought him this Murtad as a prisoner, he let him go. Didn't burn him. MashaAllah, he didn't burn him. He didn't use Sayfullah al-Maslul on him here. He didn't burn him. He let him go. He married him to his sister. So what does he do? He goes into the market and starts attacking camels and slicing off their humps. So the people of Medina, like Al-Ash'ath, has become an apostate again. He's lost his mind. So he said, no, guys, we're having a wedding ceremony, right? If we were in Yemen, we would be having a wedding. Come on, let's have a wedding. Come and take money from me to make up for the camels that I've slaughtered. Correct? Oh, ya late. I wish this mal'oon, the extent of the damage he inflicted, would have been slaughtering a few camels. Ya late. Because this man, do you know what he was to Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullah alayhi, in Amir al-Mu'mineen's time? I remember, I think no one put it better. I think it was Muhammad Abdu, the Azhari scholar. In his Sharh of Nahj al-Balagha, he says this man, al-Ash'ath, was to Ali, salamullah alayhi, the way Abdullah ibn Ubay was to Rasulullah, a hypocrite, a fifth column within his own ranks. And we already discussed how al-Baladri and Ali ibn al-Athir and Usd al-Ghaba highlight that he played a role in the assassination of Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullah alayhi, as did Abil Faraj al-Isfahani in Maqatil al-Talibiyin.
And for me, there was only one person who worded it better than Muhammad Abdu, and that was Amir al-Mu'mineen himself. And to that same hadith that he is explaining in Nahj al-Balagha, if we see here as famously there, and the Imam calls him al-Ha'ik ibn al-Ha'ik wal-Munafiq ibn al-Kafir. That is the best way to describe it, actually.
But because of marriage, because of Sunni, modern Sunni polemicist marriage law, Abu Bakr loved this guy. Absolutely. So let's continue to see. Let's see. So this is how he treats al-Ash'ath ibn Qais. Correct? How did he treat the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Al-Yaqubi reports, and this report comes from Tarikh al-Yaqubi, volume 2, page 89, and it is corroborated by Sahih reports from the books of the Mukhalifin, which we'll go over, inshallah. So he says, Abu Bakr wrote to Khalid ibn al-Walid to turn towards Malik ibn Nuwayra and Yarbu'i, Al-Yarbu'i, I believe that means he's from Bani Tamim. So he went to them. It is said that he summoned them, and Malik ibn Nuwayra came to argue with him, followed by his wife. When Khalid saw her, he was taken by her beauty and said, "By Allah, I will not attain what is in your place until I kill you." So Malik looked at him, and Khalid struck his neck and married his wife. Abu Qatada then went to Abu Bakr and told him the news, swearing not to serve under Khalid's banner because Khalid had killed Malik, who is a Muslim. When Umar ibn al-Khattab then said to Abu Bakr, "O successor of Rasulullah, Khalid killed a Muslim man and married his wife on the same day." Quick question for those of you that may not know fiqh. In Islam, when a Muslim man dies and you want to marry that wife, you want to marry that lady, she's a widow now, not the wife. How long could you marry her immediately?
You cannot. There's a iddah.
There's a iddah. So what is this? Let's call this what it is. This is not a marriage. This is what?
This is rape.
This is rape. He killed a Muslim man and then raped his wife. So Abu Bakr summoned Khalid. And so Khalid said, "O successor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa I interpreted and if I was right or I was wrong." Correct? I did ta'weed. Either I was right or I was wrong. اجتهدت فأخطأت. اجتهاد. مشيها السالفة الصحابة. عدالة الصحابة. Mutammim ibn Nuwayra, who was the brother of Malik, he was a poet who lamented his brother with many elegies. So he went to Medina to see Abu Bakr, and he prayed the morning prayer behind him. When Abu Bakr finished his prayer, Mutammim stood up, leaning on his bow, and he said, "What a noble victim when the winds converge. Behind the houses you killed, O son of Azur, or son of al-Azwar. Do you call him in God's name, then betray him? If he had called you in protection, he would not have betrayed you." So Abu Bakr replied, "I did not call him, nor did I betray him." When Abu Bakr says, "I did not call him and I did not betray him," what does that mean? It means Mutammim, who is he holding responsible for his brother's death?
Abu Bakr and Khalid.
Abu Bakr, correct? Someone says, "Okay, Al-Yaqubi is a Shia historian." You say, "Baba, you have to understand. It's a simple fact. Shia historians are always better than Sunni historians. We would have quoted your historians if they were as good as Al-Yaqubi or Al-Mas'udi. No problem. We would have gone with your historians. But just to show you how good our historian is, the same reports that he combined in his Tarikh book can be found in your books with Sahih Isnads. The first one is Al-Musannaf by Abdul Razzaq. And honestly, Musannaf Abdul Razzaq, had the Mukhalifin known what was in this book, they would have returned the manuscript into the chest where they found them. Correct? Abdul Razzaq reports from Ma'mar, from az-Zuhri, from Abu Qatada, who says, "During Harub al-Ridda, we marched to Ahlul Abiyat and reached there at sunset. Then we raised our spears. Hence they asked, 'Who are you?' We replied, 'We are the slaves of Allah.' And they said, 'We are the slaves of Allah as well.' Then Khalid arrested them, and when it was morning, he ordered their beheading. So I, i.e. Abu Qatada, the Sahabi, I said, 'O Khalid, fear Allah. This is not allowed for you.' So Khalid replied, 'Stay back. This is not your business.' Then Abu Qatada swore by Allah never to march with Khalid for any war. He said, the desert Arabs encouraged him on killing them for the sake of war booty, and that was Malik ibn Nuwayra's case." Correct? And in the Arabic, we'll read the Arabic real quick. "Min ajli al-ghanaim, wa kana dhalik fi Malik bin Nuwayra." So what does that mean? Why did they kill this man?
To
take his stuff. To take his possessions. Correct? وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Now,
SubhanAllah, the Murtad marries Abu Bakr's sister, but the Muslim is killed and his wife is raped.
And that's the thing, is if you think that it would stop at a Sayyid al-Zahra, if Rasulullah's own daughter, they would not grant her rights, they would oppress her in such a way, they would threaten her home, correct, and take her property and deny her haqq. What makes you think everyone else is safe? Correct? And this is paving the path for Bani Umayyah. It's paving the path for that mulk that we would see later. Now, the last part of the report of Al-Yaqubi is the part dealing with Mutammim ibn Nuwayra's poem. And I would appreciate it, Brother Nasser, if you would like to read this poem in Arabic.
Of course.
And this is found in Al-Mu'jam al-Kabir by Tabarani in volume 4, page 278, hadith 8051.
He says, نعم القتيل إذا مال الرماح تناوحت جبن العصاة قتيلك ابن الأزور ولنعم حشو الدرع حين لقيته ولنعم مأوى الطارق المتنور سمح بأطراف القداح إذا انتشأ حلو الحلال المال غير عذور لا يلبس الفحشاء تحت ثيابه صعب مقادته عفيف المئزر أدعوته بالله ثم قتلته ولو هو دعاك بذمة لم يغدر نعم الفوارس يوم حلبة غادرت فرسان فهو في الغبار الأكدر ويروى في الكدور الأكدر.
And this kalam, Mutammim ibn Nuwayra, by the way, he was a Sahabi as well. And unfortunately, I wish I could tell you his story has a happy ending, that he one day saw justice being served, that he would one day see that his brother would be avenged. However, this was not the case. That Khalid ibn al-Walid was not punished, the had was not applied, and Khalid ended up dying in Hims. Lastly, and we'll conclude with this chapter, let us go over the examples of Abu Bakr. So we've gone over his brutality against his opposition. We've seen the way he deals with his opponents. Let's see how well the so-called Khalifa of Rasulullah maintained the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, in order to understand this next point, we have to go back to the Quran. We have to go back to Surah Al-Anfal, and this is Surah Al-Anfal, Ayah 41. Surah Al-Anfal, Ayah 41, we read the following. It says, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ مَا غَنِمْتُمْ مِنْ شَيْءٍ فَإِنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِلرَّسُولِ وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ إن كنتم آمنتم بالله وما أنزلنا على عبدنا يوم الفرقان يوم التقى الجمعان والله على كل شيء قدير. Correct? And the English translation, and know that anything you obtain of war booty, then indeed for Allah is 1/5 of it. This 1/5, what do we call it today?
Al-Khums.
Khums, al-Khums. This is the ayah that gives us the ruling for Khums. And for the messenger and for his near relatives and the orphans, the needy and the stranded traveler. Ila akhir al-ayah. So according to the Quran, whatever war booty is captured, what has that 1/5 of it goes to who?
To the Prophet and his family.
To the Prophet and his family. Did Abu Bakr follow this ruling?
No, he did not.
He did not. You want to go over some of these reports that explain that he didn't?
Of course. And as we see, as reported by Zamakhshari in his Tafsir al-Kashif, where he says that Abu Bakr withheld
this
the
is,
khums
by the way,
from
just
Bani
a
Hashim.
quick
Yes,
correction. Is that al-Kashif? It's al-Kashaf.
Al-Kashaf, excuse me.
Popularly known as Tafsir al-Zamakhshari. This is al-Kashaf,
Tafsir
volume
al-Zamakhshari.
2, page 215. Yeah, go ahead.
SubhanAllah, how much they love this Mu'tazili when it comes to, the tafsir and whatnot. He narrated that Abu Bakr withheld the khums from Bani Hashim and said, what is due to you is that the poor among you are given, the unmarried among you are married, and those who do not have a servant among you are provided with one. As for the wealthy among you, they are like a wealthy traveler who does not receive anything from charity, nor does a wealthy orphan. SubhanAllah, he's taking this hukum of the Quran and throwing it out the window.
It says, وَرُوِيَ أَنَّ أَبَا بَكْرَ مَنَعَ بَنِي هَاشِمَ الْخُمْسِ. He did not allow Bani Hashim to have any khums. Correct? Now, another report that highlights this, an authentic report that indeed highlights, someone says, oh, Zamakhshari did not include the isnad.
He's a Mu'tazili.
We'll play your game. We'll play. This is Kitab Sunan Abi Dawud, Hadith 2978. He narrates from Jubayr ibn Mut'im. This is from Sa'id ibn al-Musayyab. He narrates that from Jubayr ibn Mut'im. He says that he and Uthman ibn Affan went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to talk to him about the khums that he divided among Bani Hashim and Banu Abdul Muttalib. I said, Ya Rasulullah, you have divided the khums among our brethren of Bani Abdul Muttalib, but you have not given us anything, though our relationship to you is the same as theirs. The Prophet said, Bani Hashim and Bani Abdul Muttalib are one. Question. I thought that, when it came to Khilafah at Saqifa, remember what Abu Bakr's argument was? The Khalifa has to be from Quraysh. Quraysh is the Prophet's tribe. But what is the Prophet saying here about Quraysh? Are he saying all tribes in Quraysh are equal, or which tribe has superiority?
Bani Hashim and Bani Abd
Bani
al-Muttalib.
Abd al-Muttalib. Correct? And this is something, we'll go over this in the bio of Umar. Umar, what does he say to Ibn Abbas? He says, Ibn Abbas, Quraysh, there were two things they were worried about with your cousin, Ali ibn Abi Talib. That's why they didn't let him have the Khilafah. One is he was young, he would rule for a very long time. And two, his love for Bani Abd al-Muttalib. Correct? So if you have a problem with him loving Bani Abd al-Muttalib, Rasulullah loved Bani Abd al-Muttalib. Yalla billah. Correct?
SubhanAllah, what it reminds me of is the words of Ali ibn Hussein, salamullah alayhi, in Asham to al-Minhal ibn Amr, where he says, the rest of the Arabs, all the Arabs say to the non-Arabs that Muhammad is from them, so they take pride in that. And Quraysh takes pride over the rest of the Arabs that Muhammad is from them. But we are the family of the Prophet, and we do not get to have our rights, and we are the ones who are being killed every day.
We're being punished for our relationship to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Correct? The report continues from Jubayr ibn Mut'im. He did not divide the khums among Bani Abd Shams and Bani Nawfal as he divided it among Bani Hashim and Bani Abd al-Muttalib. Then he said, Abu Bakr used to divide the khums like the division of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, except what? Except that he did not give the relatives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as he gave them. Then Umar and Uthman after him used to give them a portion of it. This report, what does it highlight about Abu Bakr and khums? Did he give Bani Hashim any khums?
Nothing at all.
No.
He's leaving the Sunnah of Rasulullah.
Nothing. And to further highlight this point, it is further reported in Kitab Sunan Abi Dawood in Hadith 2982. Read the following. He writes, he reports the following with his isnad to Yazid ibn Hurmuz. He says that when Najda al-Haruri, and this is Najda ibn Amir, if any of you have seen Musalsal Mukhtar, you know, in the I think this is the early part of the show, when Mukhtar ibn Zubayr and the Khawarij, they form an alliance to stop Yazid and his army from taking Hijaz. So Najda ibn Amir is one of the characters in the show. Najda ibn Amir is the guy he's marching around the Kaaba with his followers, the Haruriya, the Khawarij, and they're constantly reciting Surah Al-Fil. Correct? This is the same guy, yeah. Najd al-Haruri. So when Najd al-Haruri performed Hajj during the rule of Ibn Zubayr, he sent someone to Ibn Abbas to ask him about the portion of the relatives, the khums. So he asked, for whom do you think? Who is this for? So Ibn Abbas replied, it is for the relatives of Rasulullah. Rasulullah divided it among them. Umar presented it to us, but we found it less than our right. We therefore returned it to him and refused to accept it. Al-Albani graded this hadith as Sahih. What does this report highlight? If Umar is the first one to offer some of it to Bani Hashim, what does that mean about Abu Bakr?
He's going against the Sunnah of Rasulullah.
Said Abu Bakr didn't give them anything. Abu Bakr didn't give them anything. Umar tried to give them some part of it, but Ibn Abbas says he did not give us our haqq. He did not give us what we deserved. He tried to give us a part of it, so we didn't accept. So now I wish to highlight something. As-Sayyidah Zahra, salamullahi alayha, after Rasulullah died, her property was stolen from her. She was denied her inheritance. Correct? So, in Islam, Ahlul Bayt have a special ruling. Correct? Ahlul Bayt cannot take sadaqah. So they have no property. Their property has been stolen, and they can't accept sadaqah, and they can't take. Abu Bakr is not giving them khums. What are they supposed to do in this situation?
What can they do?
What can they do? And people wonder why Ali gave bay'ah. This is the very definition of a forced bay'ah. Is I attack your house, I bring you to give me bay'ah as a prisoner, and then if you refuse, I try to starve you out. So what is the difference between Abu Fasil when he tried to starve out Bani Hashim and Abu Jahl many years ago in Mecca when he tried to do the same to them? La hawla wa la quwwata. And with that being said, inshallah, we'll bring this session to a close, and inshallah, the next part we will conclude the biography of Abu Bakr. We'll go over a few more of his attempts to snuff out the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and we will conclude inshallah. But with that being said, we will end with Surah Al-Fatiha. Tasbiquha as-salatu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli.